Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I am so happy to be back on the Syberia Designs YouTube channel today with another card that I made for the Creative Stamping magazine. Today I'm sharing this card with the Gorgeous Peonies and they are indeed gorgeous. There is this stamp set, it is one huge stamp and the coordinating die is also one huge die. There's also a coordinating hot foil plate and a coordinating stencil set. I am going to be first using the stencil set, and I have recently started doing my layering stencils first before stamping, and it makes a huge difference for me. It's such a time saver because this way I only have to put all of the stencils in the same corner of my MISTI and they automatically line up. So I can add a couple of colors of ink for this first layer, and once I'm done with that, I can just put the second layer right in that same corner. I don't have to fuss around trying to line it up with the stamp. I can just use the corner of my MISTI. Later on, I will have to line up the stamp with my stenciled images, but that's only one time that I have to line something up, instead of having to line up 6 different stencils. This seems like a really simple trick, and it is, but I definitely didn't think about it before. I don't know who I saw doing it, probably one of the Pink Fresh Studio ladies, but it makes such a huge difference. I'm very happy that I got to try it out. So for these gorgeous peonies, there are 3 layers for the flowers, and I am using some yellows, some oranges, and some pinks on all 3 layers, and I'm just going to darken it up for each layer. I go 1 shade darker. And then after that, there are also some layers for the leaves as well, so all of the greenery is up next. I love how detailed these flowers are. You can absolutely just use the stencil set on its own, and that is definitely not true for all flower layering stencils. Some of them really need that stamped outline. I don't think this one necessarily needs it. I like an outline for some of these detailed flowers because it does add even more detail. But the stencils create so much depth and detail already, you can absolutely just stop at stenciling them. You don't need an outline. Now here, as I said, I do have to line that stamp up once I am done stenciling. So it is this part is a little fussy, but it takes just a couple of seconds. And once that's done, you just close the MISTI on it and you stamp it. This is also perfect for mass producing because you can stencil a bunch of different flowers at once, do them in all the colors of the rainbow, and then once you line up the stamp, it's good for all of the stenciled images, so you can all stamp them at once. I'm just stamping these in Versamark ink. You can stamp them in colored ink as well. I wanted a gold outline. So once these are stamped, I do stamp them quite a couple of times because I couldn't really tell if it was stamped perfectly because this is a transparent ink, so it's not always super clear. So I like to be safe better than sorry. So once I'm sure everything is stamped nicely, I can sprinkle on my embossing powder. This is the Wow Gold Rich Pale Embossing Powder. It is beautiful and it embosses beautifully every single time. So I'm just making sure it's covering everything. Then I can funnel that back into the little jar and heat set everything. I love how many images you get out of this one stamp. It definitely speeds up your card making, and I usually have a couple left over that I can use on the envelope if I want to. Usually if I have a flower left over, I save it to close the envelope instead of a wax seal. I really like that look. Now I'm going to make a scalloped card. So I am going to use the nested scalloped frames die set, and I'm going to cut a couple of pieces. First up, I am using that largest scalloped piece, and I am cutting 2 white panels out of this. I am going to make a shaped card, like I said. So the way I do that is just cut 2 of the same pieces, and I add a score line near the top of one of them. This is going to be the back panel of my card. I use my trimmer as my scoring buddy, but you can use whatever you have to add a score line at the top of that card. This is going to be your fold. I am going to add glue to everything above that score line, and I am just going to stick the other panel right on top of it. That little glued flap is going to be the hinge. You are not going to notice anything about this at the front of the card, so it's just a great way to create a shaped card. You can do this with any shape, but I do like the little scalloped edge as a detail. I also cut a frame, so I just did that by using that same largest scalloped piece and the second largest rectangle, and I did stack this up before starting my ink blending. So the first layer is some colored cardstock, and then there's 2 layers of white cardstock underneath that. This adds some stability as well as dimension, but I do like the stability when I'm ink blending something quite flimsy like this. So I'm just adding some darker ink to the corners that I'm going to add my flowers to. I just think this adds a little bit of shading and a little bit of depth, as if the flowers are casting a shadow almost. I have some foam adhesive underneath this frame already, but I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue underneath that as well, just so I can shift it around if necessary, because lining these scallops up is not it's not as easy as just putting a rectangle on top of a rectangle. So I wanted that little bit of wiggle room, and I did get some ink smudges on that white space because my ink wasn't dry, and yeah, it happens. I erase them with one of those sand erasers that usually does the trick. I'm going to arrange my flowers, and once I'm happy with the arrangement, I do check if my sentiment fits because it's quite a large sentiment. Once I'm happy with the arrangement, I take some washi tape and I just tape all of the pieces together temporarily. This is going to make it so I only have to add adhesive to them once, and I don't have to arrange them all separately again like I just did, because I never get the arrangement just the same the second time around. So it's just a lot easier if they're somehow adhered together. You can also use the present seal if you have that laying around. I glued the sentiment down. This is the Large Hello die cut from Syberia Designs. There's also a matching hot foil plate if you like to hot foil. I thought the die cut was perfect for this one. And I added some foam tape underneath all of the elements. There was one leaf that I just tucked underneath there again with glue because I forgot that it wasn't covered with the foam tape. That's pretty much it. Once these flowers are adhered, all that's left to do is add some gems, because I do like to add a little bit of bling to my cards, but you can definitely spice this card up a little bit more. I kept it pretty simple. You can add some stuff to the background. I just added the gems there, but there's a lot of playing space left in that frame to add a little bit more if you want to. I love the colors of these flowers. I really like to add a couple of colors of ink when the flowers are this big. It really spices things up, I think. So yeah, I had a lot of fun creating this card with the gold embossing. There's so much fun detail there, as well as some fun shimmer too. I hope you liked the card. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to see more of the Syberia Designs inspiration on this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.